What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into the Coaches Masterclass series presented by Lincoln Financial Group. I'm Fran Duffy, and today we are going to dive into the nitty-gritty of playing the wide receiver position. I am joined by Eagles wide receivers coach Aaron Moorehead. Coach, thanks for joining us here to talk about wide receiver play.
I appreciate you having me, man. Excited about it.
So today we are going to focus in on one of the hallmarks, one of the benchmarks of playing the position at a high level, and that's the ability to defeat press coverage. So I guess before we get to the film, could you just kind of go through for the fans, for our viewers at home, what are some of the big coaching points for you when you're working with the guys to defeat press coverage?
There's not a lot of science behind it, right? At the end of the day, right? You got to be able to move the DB off of his grass. He owns his grass. We got to move him off his grass. And then when he tries to put his hands on you, you want to defeat his hands early, and then we want to defeat his hands late. So there's little nuances within all that, but at the same time, we got to be able to get going down the field, put pressure on the safeties. They have to get over the top and help those corners. And, you know, the more time you spend at the line, the more time the defensive line has to get to the quarterback, the more time that safeties have to read the quarterback's eyes and potentially make a play. So we got to do it fast, we got to do it with precision, and we got to do it efficiently.
And I guess really the goal is, hey, we got to get from A to B, put stress on that safety, like you mentioned. I guess the difficult part for us on the outside as well, so many variables because you have the size, different sizes and skill sets of receivers, different sizes and leverages of DBs. So not every release is going to look the same. Like you mentioned, there's going to be a lot of nuance there.
Yeah, you have to be able to understand from week to week how they play. Do they play a different leverage from the boundary to the field? Does one guy play differently than the other? Do some guys like to use their hands? Some guys like to soft shoot and don't really want to use their hands. They use their quickness. Some guys with length, you like to one-hand stab. Some guys like to two-hand stab. So what are you looking at week to week? Just giving the guys just a little bit of the answers to the test before we get to the game. And then obviously you always adjust in game to something that might be going on a little different than what you saw on tape.
Yeah, and the more tools you've got in your toolbox to win that matchup, certainly the better served you are. So let's dive into the film here and take a look at a great clip from last year. Jalen Reagor against Green Bay. He's here at the bottom of the screen. Take us through what you're seeing and what Jalen does so well here on this play.
Right. I mean, the big thing we talked about first, you got to get the DB to move. So we're going to use a jab step on the release. And as Jalen's getting outside, we want to play with low surface area. We don't want to give the DB a big shoulder to get his hands on. We got to make sure we get his hands off. So right here, as Jalen's going around King right here, you see King wants to put his hands on Jalen's shoulder. All right, so Jalen's going to take his inside hand, and he's going to get that hand off right there. That's the first huge step of this whole thing. Now, as Jalen gets vertical past King right here, now he's looking back a little bit towards Jalen, all right? And now we're running down the field, and you can see he's not going to quit messing with his hands. You can see King still wants to put his hands on Jalen right here. We're going to swipe it, get his hands off, and now we use our speed to separate and make a play on the ball.
Coach, one of the things I always point to in a lot of these breakdowns is that the red line. Can you take us through the importance of a receiver holding that red line and what that looks like?
Yeah, the red line is really the midway point or even a little bit outside between the bottom of the numbers and the sideline. And that just allows the quarterback to drop the ball in over your outside shoulder and allows you as the receiver to adjust the ball outside without the corner being able just to squeeze you off with his body presence. So, again, just holding that line as much as possible and not making the quarterback have to make the perfect throw every time.
Yeah, it's certainly a good example of that right there with Jalen. Great ball from Jalen Hurts. Jalen Reagor coming away with the big catch. All right, let's take a look here at the next clip. And this one, a really fun example as well with Travis Fulgham against Dallas. What are we seeing here from Travis?
So now it's the same look, all right? We got one-on-one into the boundary. Greg's going to end up leaving and going in motion. And now we're going to see what the defense is going to do. When he goes in motion, we'll see, all right, how are they going to adjust? Now they're coming down. We feel like we got a one-on-one matchup into the boundary. And Travis now, with all this space out here, and again, he's got to see how Diggs is going to play. Right now, he's not using his hands. Right? And that was something on tape that we saw. The second game that we played them was the one with Alshon. This was the first game. He wasn't using his hands as much. So we knew we could attack him, right? Be patient. And then all we wanted to do is give him a little rocker step and get vertical and save the space. And Travis does a great job here of understanding attack, 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 and jab.
And so really, as he's just trying to close the distance and kind of step on his toes early on and then create that separation. I guess it's very similar to what you would do at the top of like a comeback route or a route down the field where you're trying to get close and then pull away late.
Right, and it goes back to a couple other things. What other routes do you run that look like this, right? It could be a slant. Diggs has no idea right now. Is he going to run a slant? Is he going to run a go? Is he going to run a go and then put the brakes on and stop? right? All those different things. So we want to be able to marry some of these releases into other routes. And again, I think that Travis does a great job here of running, catching this ball late over his shoulder, and a big play for us in this game.
And another play from this same game, a little bit different part of the field here, down in the red zone. Do the rules change for the receivers when you get into this tight area?
You got to be more patient. You got to understand the space closes. The quarterback has less room to work. So especially when we're catching this thing and he's trying to get this ball up and down, give him some time to let you get under the football. And one thing we teach our guys is, we want to be able to think this ball's going to the back pylon, and then we'll react to any off-target throw, back shoulder, any of those type of throws for the quarterback. So Travis right here, as soon as the safety comes down, in his mind, he should be thinking, I'm getting the ball. I have potential to get this ball. So Travis is kind of working a similar release, but again, he kind of attacks him just slightly on his outside shoulder to keep his leverage, and then he's working his hands. He misses right there, but one thing is you see with Diggs right there, he puts his hands on Travis's shoulder, all right? And that's one thing, DBs, they feel comfortable when their hands are on your shoulder. We want to make sure we're trying to get that hand off. And then you can see late in this route right there, it's hard to tell, but you go really slow, you can see Diggs' left hand swipe at about right before the goal line. Diggs' left hand gets kind of flailed up in the air. Keep going a little bit, and you can see his hand kind of flails up, his left hand, and that's because Travis swiped his hand off. And that's what we kind of talked about with some of those, getting the guys' hands off early and then getting their hands off late. And that's really important. And again, a little nuance that you can't really maybe tell from the TV, or you can't even really tell from sitting in the stands. But right there, the whole thing Travis does here that makes this play work is this swipe up about 2 yards in the end zone. That creates a separation between him and Diggs.
And then you just have the ability to go up, climb and finish. At that point, just the natural ability, those ball skills kind of take over in that situation, right?
Right. The basketball and Travis Fulgham takes over right there, right? That's just going up and taking it off the rim.
So, Coach, now we're going to get into John Hightower. Very different skill set from Travis Fulgham, and this is early in the season. Take us through what we see here from John Hightower.
Right, so now, again, this is running a go route versus off coverage,
Yep.
All right? So we've worked some press stuff. Now we're running a go route versus off coverage. We want to get off the ball as fast as we can. We want to press this corner. We got to press this guy. We got to step on his toes. We got to eat up this cushion. And as soon as you pass him again, we want to use our hand to allow him not to get his hands on us at all if he tries. With the DB with his butt to the sideline, he's not going to be able to put his hands on you, right? If he had his butt to the field, now he's going to try to put his hands on you right at this point right here. Butt to the sideline, we want to pass him thin. We want to use our inside hand maybe to swipe if we need to. But right here, this DB's got his eyes in the backfield. Hightower does a great job of running past the guy, holding that red line, and then, again, a little yards after the catch here was big. But again, there's different ways to run goes. There's different ways to connect on these routes. It doesn't always have to be press coverage. Sometimes it's off coverage. If this guy's staring in the backfield, right, a quarterback can do a little subtle things to hold him with his eyes and then make a throw.
One of the buzzwords with wide receiver play and creating that separation, getting into a defender's blind spot. What is it that John does here to try and make sure he gets into that blind spot? And what is the advantage for the receiver in that kind of situation?
Well, when you get in the DB's blind spot, he doesn't know, obviously, the whole point. It's like driving in your car. You don't know where that person is if they're in your blind spot. You try to change lanes, and you look back, and you go, oh, shoot, real quick. It's the same thing. This guy doesn't know, is he stopping? Is he going back as a comeback? Is he going to run a dig, or is he going to run a go? He has no idea. So if you can get into that blind spot, it really creates an advantage for us. And obviously, we took advantage of this here. This was a huge play in the game in the fourth quarter of the Giants game. Really, it was the play that got us back into contention. And obviously, the Boston Scott touchdown at the end of the game was something that we'll all remember.
So, Coach, now we get into the next phase of this, I guess, right? So the ability to use that vertical speed to set up some different routes. Take us through what you see here on this one against Pittsburgh.
So right here again, in the Pittsburgh game, we got Hightower down here at the bottom. We got press coverage again. Now we're running a 10-yard stop route or an 8-yard stop route. This route has to look like you're running a go. Our release has to look the same. Our speed off the ball has to look the same. He has to feel go route all day right here. So the one great thing with Hightower, he's so fast. Him, Quez, Jalen, these guys are fast players. So if you have to make the DB feel like you are running to go, and if you watch the DB right here, as Hightower comes off the ball, he goes right now, as soon as he opens his hip, this DB saying, oh no, he's about to run a go ball. I have to get on top of him. So as Hightower puts the brakes on right there, at 8 yards, this DB's in a really tough position. We got his momentum going way back. Hightower knows what he's doing. The ball's in a great spot right there. We get an easy completion.
Coach, I always kind of equate it to a pass rusher coming out of college where, it's speed, 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 but once you know how to create some change-ups, win low side, develop that speed to power rush. Same thing with the receiver. If you've got that ability to win deep and just run by a guy, well, now you can weaponize that speed, and that's where the in-breaking routes come from, the intermediate routes rather, and you can see that right here with John.
Absolutely, and he does a great job. The DB knows he doesn't want to get beat deep. Use that to your advantage. Understand where to put yourself in position in the play where he thinks you're doing something that you're not. And that was conversations that they've had, conversations that we had in our receiver room. And, it translates to Sundays.
And we got one more example here, this time against Baltimore, top of the screen with Travis. Similar kind of look here, right?
Yeah, very similar. Again, we've thrown some deep stuff. We put that on tape. Now Travis is going to be running a little bit of a deeper route than Hightower. But again, same thing. We got to win outside. We got to stack this DB and try to get him in a position where he feels like you're running a deep route. So Travis right here, everything in his body position here is telling you he's running a go route right here. And for a guy like this playing against Jimmy Smith and those guys, he's been in the league a long time. He felt that. And then this one, different than Hightower's, Travis does a great job at the top of just giving him a little hand right on his hip and throwing him by and understanding now we can work back to the ball and get an easy catch.
You can see the separation there. Just a great job by Travis at the top of the route. Coach, you talked about the stacking the DB there. That goes hand in hand with holding the red line as well, right?
Absolutely. And again, if you're running a stop route, you don't want to get stacked complete where the DB's in you in a trail position. That's not where we want him when we're running a stop route. But you got to be able to lean him a little bit inside, make him feel like, again, you always want to hold that red line, but make him feel like you're trying to regain that leverage to run your go route. Last second, put the brakes on, swim him by, get a catch for the good guys.
That was the last clip, Coach. I've got one final question for you. When you're getting guys coming from college, how hard is that to be able to teach every aspect of this? Because obviously some guys have a lot of experience with it, some guys don't as much.
Well, I think it's something that we have to drill over and over and over again. You got to constantly show them the tape. Every time that they do it right, you got to show them. Every time that they do it wrong, you got to show them. And then as they continue to have results in games, they start to understand the importance of it. And the DBs in the NFL are experienced guys. In college, they can hit you up and down the field. They can have contact. In the NFL, these guys are so quick and understand with that 5-yard no contact rule, they have to be great with their feet. They have to be great with their eyes, with their discipline. So we have to be better with our discipline. And that's something that, again, just young guys have to understand that these DBs are going to, every tendency you have, they're going to figure it out. And we've got to be able to make as many things look the same as we possibly can. And that's, to me, the way you get open consistently year after year after year.
Coach, I learned a lot from this segment. I hope our viewers did as well. Thanks so much for joining us here inside Coaches Masterclass presented by Lincoln Financial Group.
Thanks, Fran. Appreciate you.